I knew that I'd put enough time into my talent and into my voice and into connecting with people that I could do it. It's hard and it doesn't stop, but it's an adventure and it's fun. And there's nothing like it. When you're healthy and clear of vision, look out. Crazy big stuff can happen. Any artist out there right now listening, if you are frustrated with your art and your soul,
you started out at the age of 2 singing. You started making money at 8 singing.
I mean, so technically, I guess you could say I made money at 2 because that's kind of what I joke a lot. It's part joking, part truth that for some reason my mom knew I could sing. I mean, at 2, I mean, I don't even know really what I could do or how she figured this out. I should ask her that. We went to this small little church in Kentucky, and so I got up and sang a song. I was 2. I sang this little song, Jesus Loves Me. And a lady came up after the service and gave me $1. I guess technically you could say my very first performance was professional, if that's the moniker. But yeah, when I got to be 8, that's when I had some other people start to take me under their wings and take me to perform with them. And my dad started booking events for me, and so at an early age, I just started learning that this was going to, I guess, most likely be my career path, as well as my passion.
Well, how did you feel about that at 8? Are you just like, this is awesome? Or did you ever get those nerves of, oh my gosh, what are people going to think of me? Or did that kind of come along?
Again, because that's all I'd done. It wasn't like I sang at 2 and didn't do it again until 8. Like, I'd always been a little performer, and my parents, they just always encouraged that. Helped me find, I started voice lessons when I was 7, church productions, things like that. Through those years, I was always kind of doing stuff, even at school, so it became really natural. My dad was a politician, so I learned early on to perform, and I learned to be the good kid. And I was a good kid, but all that kind of fit for me. But I definitely, when I got to be like a teenager, I had a period of being nervous that I had to learn to deal with. Just, those awkward teenage years. All of a sudden you start realizing, wow, people are looking at me. What do they think? Am I good? Am I not good? And so, yeah, in my own way, I had to deal with that, but I got beyond it pretty quickly.
Moving along, you went to college to study music business, and then you left there and got a job in artist management.
I'd started another school, actually, in Kentucky, a small private school, and I thought I was going to do pre-med. My sister's a dentist, and I was like, oh, I'll do this and sing on the side. And then I realized pretty quickly, no, I don't want to do that. Music is my passion again, so that's what I'm going to do. And my dad had read an article in a newspaper that Trisha Yearwood, a country singer, had gone to Belmont, and I had not heard of it really. And so he's like, we should go check this school out, because he knew I was unhappy and really trying to find my way. So we go tour it, and I knew, like, this is where I need to go, so I'm going to do. So I transferred, and when I graduated, the best part about being at Belmont was that I became connected with hundreds of other people who were wanting to do the same thing. And then we had, seminars and internships and all those things. So I started connecting in the business. So through a friendship at school, a choir that I was in, this guy, Brian's his name, he had gotten a job at a management company, and we were going to a Nashville Predators game one night. And I was working part-time at a bank just after school, trying to figure out what I was going to do. And he's like, hey, we're actually hiring a new person. Would you want to come in and apply? I was like, sure. It's in music. I'm trying to anything.
Yeah.
So the next day I go in and meet with the manager, and he looked at me. He's like, okay, here's the deal. He's like, I like you. You seem cool. You got 2 weeks. I'll pay you minimum wage for 2 weeks. After that, you can go on salary if we still like each other and want to do this. That was the interview. And I was like, all right, cool. So it worked out, and I stayed in that job for probably a little over 2 years. And then really there was a kind of a fork in my career path again. These forks, they happen a lot with all of us, where we just feel like there's a shift getting ready to happen. Sometimes that's a completely different career path. Other times it's a shift in, or a level up. Let's call it a level up, right? There's a level up in a direction that you need to go, because it's going to put you in the path of where you're supposed to be. And so luckily I was in tune to that. It was a clear fork there. So I decided to leave that day job and go into music full time. That was a risky, scary thing, not knowing. I left a salary, to nothing. And
Mhm.
yeah, but I learned so much of that management position, Shay, where um, I learned all the ins and outs of firsthand of the music business because I was dealing with everything. We're a small company. We had four or five employees, and we managed probably 6, 7 artists. And so I was dealing with labels, with booking agents, with songwriters, with producers, with the band, with the artist, bus companies, everything. I was kind of helping manage what you do in an associate way, the careers of the artists. So it was a really great boot camp for me, to really
Yeah.
learn so much and help me as I started out on my own, journey in music myself.
As a solo artist, when you left your job,
Mhm.
what were your plans? What kind of things did you have in mind that you were going to do?
I think the hardest thing, especially, we'll just say the creative field in general, obviously for me, that's music. Um, but the hardest thing about the creative realm is that there are no blueprints. There are no clear, structured paths to take. I.e., if I want to be a doctor, A, B, C, D, get a degree, doctor. That's not true in music or art or dance or anything else. So, even though I had a vision of what I wanted to do, I questioned so much. There's still so many unknowns. I do a lot of workshops now and webinars and master classes. And even in my one on one coaching and artist development stuff, it's a recurring question that keeps popping up of how do I get there? How do I do this? And that doesn't matter at what level you're at. There's always that big how that keeps popping up.
Yeah.
So, for me in that regard, even though I've been working in management and learning so much and making those connections, I still was unsure of a lot of things. But I had made my first project. I had a couple people give me some money, a large sum of money actually, and because they saw my talent, they saw my desire. I had a dream to do my first record, and so I'd made this record. This is about maybe 6 months, 8 months before I quit my day job. At the time, like I said, I grew up singing in church. I did a lot of church, a lot of musical theater. And at the time, I really wanted to kind of dive into the contemporary Christian music world because that's what I knew and where I'd come from. So I'd made this CD, 10 songs, and at the time we were working when I was still at the management company. And one of the artists was on this women's conference, and there was this huge evangelist named Billy Graham. He died a couple years ago. Guinness Book of World Records has him down as speaking to more people than anyone in history. Um,
Wow.
his daughter had her own conference, and I was in California, in LA, Orange County, that spring to be a part of her conference for an artist that we were working with. Okay, so tell me if you're not following here because it's a little confusing, but
Yep.
I was just there to support the artist. Conference is over. Next morning, I get up at the hotel, and in the lobby are all the ladies that are speaking at the conference, and this lady, Ruth Graham. And they invited me to go to Laguna Beach with them to lunch. I was like, sure, I'm just going to sit by the pool. That sounds fun.
Mhm.
So just as it would happen, I got put in the car with Ruth and her assistant. And so we're driving about 30 minutes to the beach, and she starts asking me questions. And she pegs me right away. She's like, so Jason, I feel like there's something else. It's not just management. What else you wanting to do? I was like, well, I love to sing. She's like, you have something I could hear? I'm like, actually, yeah, I just finished a CD. Do you have one? No, I'll send it to you. So I did. Mailed it to her when I got back. So fast forward, 6 months, I quit my day job, and honest true story. I quit my day job. The next day, I'm sitting on my couch in Nashville, Tennessee, being like, God, what am I going to do? Where is money going to come from? I had a little bit saved up, but I didn't know. Again, I kid you not. My phone rings, and this lady is on the other line. I'm like, this is Jason. She's like, Jason, this is Neva Pinner at the Crystal Cathedral. again, in church circles, this was like the mega, mega. It's in Orange County. It's a big glass church. It's now part of the Catholic diocese, but at the time, massive church with a orchestra. They're on TV every Sunday. The TV show still goes, called The Hour of Power. It's one of the longest running TV shows in history. And so they're notorious for having people from Hollywood, LA, New York, authors, singers, everyone come on and sing. So Neva was like, Neva Pittner at the Crystal Cathedral. We're at a production meeting wondering if you could come sing in 2 weeks on television on our program. I'm in shock. I'm like, how do you even know who I am? I asked her that.
Yeah.
She's like, well, your dear friend Ruth Graham was here in the summer, and we asked her if she recommended anyone for the program, and she gave us your CD.
Oh my, I'm
And so
seriously getting goosebumps. No kidding.
I know, right? Me too. It's like, I'm going to choke up a little bit because I haven't told the story in a while.
Mm-hmm.
So Shay, again, I kid you not, 2 weeks later, I get on a plane, I fly out. I remember it so vividly, getting up that morning in my hotel, looking out, I opened the windows. It had to be up at like 5:30 because we had orchestra call and rehearsal. And so I look out, and from my window in the distance, I could see the spire of the glass cathedral. And I was just like, how did I get here? What am I doing? Again, these shifts, these levels, right? That you're brilliant for coming up with this name of this show. And so I remember being so nervous because I'm like, I've never done this. I've been on TV before. I had a TV show when I was in high school for a few years, but it was, Kentucky thing. It wasn't like international. Orchestra. I'd grown up watching this TV show on Sunday mornings with my parents and grandparents. And so I remember just being like, I looked out the window, I'm like, Jason, you can do this. You've got this. You're here because of a reason. Go do what you know how to do. So I walked into the huge glass thing, rehearsed with the orchestra. It was incredible. It was so incredible. And one of the most beautiful things out of that for me personally was I sold so many CDs from that live performance that aired like 2 weeks after that. I didn't have to work for 6 months. I didn't have to worry about working. I was starting my music career, but I had a 6-month cushion now just from that one thing that allowed me to really dive into what I was really wanting to do. And so that was my journey from leaving my day job into a full-time creative realm to really pursue my passion.
That's amazing. And going back to the how, you can't write that. You can't. You are in the right place at the right time and you're ready. Was there something that maybe around the time leaving your job that you were certain about? Because, you were questioning how's money going to come in? But I feel like there is maybe some type of certainty that how to figure things out or, along those lines.
I think there's definitely some truth to that. Like, I definitely have the certainty of I've been through this process before. I've never, if I've fallen, I've gotten back up. It's never been as bad as my mind envisioned, those kinds of things. And I think from the process of leaving the job into nothingness, if we will, I definitely chose to really trust faith that, and if there was something concrete that I could hang on to, it was the fact, not knowing the how, right? I knew that I could do it. I knew that I'd put enough time into my talent and into my voice and into connecting with people that I could do it. How it was going to happen, and obviously every once in a while those little, demons of doubt do pop in and you just feel like, I need to go back and get another job. Of course, we still have those,
Yeah.
That's just like, that is a forever. If there's anyone out there listening right now and you think that you're going to find your dream in anything, but especially the creative world, if you think that when you find it, those arrows of doubt aren't going to hit you even harder, again, you need to just run the other direction and get a job where you don't have to think or do anything, just show up and do it and get a paycheck, because this is a process, again, of even internally and personally leveling up so that you are constantly rising to the occasion every day, because there are days you don't want to get out of that bed.
Yeah.
It's hard
Yeah.
and it doesn't stop,
Yeah.
but it's an adventure and it's fun and there's nothing like it.
I read that you were touring with, I don't know if I'm saying this right, Tenore? How do you say
Hey,
it?
you got it.
Yes?
Tenore. It's the Italian word for
Tenore.
tenor. Yeah.
Okay.
So
Okay.
yeah, I toured on a solo thing for probably about 3 years. Was doing really well with that. It was definitely hard. I've never fit into a mold musically. My teenage years, I wanted to be like a pop star. There were two singers in my town that were really good. I mean, there were more, but there was another guy that was a few years older than me, but he was a great voice and I had a really good voice, and but he was like, he had a rock band, and he played at school stuff, and like, I'm singing at churches and in theater, and everyone's moms and grandmas are coming.
Mhm.
So I had to work through that myself, because I've always wanted to be the cool guy. And I didn't think I was cool at the time. I wanted to be like U2 or Coldplay instead of, Bocelli or Pavarotti. But that was the voice I had, and that was the voice I had developed and cultivated. Even when I was doing my solo stuff, I was having a hard time trying to convince people, especially in churches, to let me come sing, because the whole worship music thing was starting to really explode. And I wasn't just a straight up worship leader, singer guy. So even that was challenging, but I was making it happen. I was making it work, working my butt off to do it. And I get a call one night out of the blue. I'm sitting in my house in Nashville, and I get a call, and it's from this lady in British Columbia, Victoria. Her name is Jill Siemens, and she's like, Jason, this is Jillian Siemens, the founder of the Canadian Tenors. So we go down this story. I had no idea who this lady was. I didn't at the time didn't even know who the Canadian Tenors were. Now they're known as the Tenors. But she had put this group together, had sold the group to Universal Music, and then another management team came in. She kind of stepped out of the picture, and she wanted to start a new group of tenors, and that's where the call came in for me. She had gone on this search for tenors. They call her the tenor lady in Canada because she's always looking for tenors. She had been given my name through my college roommate at Belmont. That's how I got pulled into this group, and so it just sounded fun. Again, it was another shift, a fork in the road. I didn't have to do it. I was doing my thing, but I really believed in her vision, and I'd seen her accomplishments with the other group, and it just sounded really fun. So I joined that group. I was in that group for almost 7 years. We won multiple awards in Canada, where our base was. We put out 3 full projects. And so this was like a lot of people there, some people are like, oh, you're an a cappella group, or other people, you say tenor, they have a lot of thoughts, but we were basically a pop crossover group. So we would do sacred tunes and pop tunes and classical tunes and kind of mesh it together. Again, very much like Andrea Bocelli or Josh Groban or people of that realm.
Mhm.
That tenor world is so popular. All these groups sell out theaters and arenas and tons of records. They don't always get the notoriety, but there's a truth for those listening music lovers out there and musicians. There's a reality that over the past 10, 15 years, especially, the groups that have kept the lights on at record labels have been Josh Groban, Michael Bublé, Andrea Bocelli, Susan Boyle, Celtic Women. There's Il Divo. They've accounted for about 30 something percent of record sales, like records. So you think about it, downloading a song, the money happens when you get 100 million downloads or streams, but you sell a million records, that's at least $100 million right
Wow.
there. So, we're talking Michael Bublé and Josh Groban every Christmas to sell their Christmas records, just millions of dollars come into those coffers every year. So this was the realm that I was in. It was a really fun time of my life to be in that group. I'd never been in a group before, and everything that comes with it. It's like being married to multiple people, and everyone has an opinion and
Yeah.
a vision, and they all have reason and purpose, but they don't always go together. So we had
Mhm.
an amazing time on stage. running the business of it was always difficult and challenging. And it came to the point where it just felt like I'd done my time there and I needed to step away. So,
Yeah.
but it was an amazing time. I got to travel all over the world, sing at the Vatican for Parliament. Like it was some really amazing and some of the most beautiful halls, that I've always dreamed of singing in. I was able to stand on those stages, and just belt my lungs out.
So you would go to the studios and record, and then you would practice? Is that like a daily practice, a weekly practice? I mean, or would you? I don't know how often. What was that like?
Yeah, well, to be honest, there were challenging moments. I'd never sang in a group. So at the very beginning, I was learning to tune myself to two other people. I remember in the beginning, I was over singing because I had these two huge voices next to me and I was singing bigger than I needed to. So I definitely had to learn some things. Keeping my voice in shape was important. I really learned a lot about touring and taking care of my voice. I also learned my bad habits, and when they could get me, when they couldn't. So my regimen, definitely I had to kind of fine tune that. Around that same time, I'd started vocal coaching. It was in like 2010. My vocal coach in Nashville, my personal coach, his name's Brett Manning, a world renowned coach. He
Yeah, I
just
looked
saw
him
in
up.
me, yeah,
I mean, Taylor Swift, Miley Cyrus. How did you
Tenore.
meet him? How did he become your mentor and your coach?
Well, I wasn't a music major or minor at Belmont. I was in the music business program, so I was technically in the business school. And I could not get the voice coach that I really wanted. And I tried to go to her a few times at her house. She lived about 45 minutes or so from school. So, and it was weird times on the weekend. We tried a few times, but it was just difficult. And someone had suggested that I go see him. Went in to see him with an artist that we were managing. I was still working at the management company. The artist was having some vocal issues. And so Brett was trying to get him to do something and he couldn't. And Brett looked at me and he's like, "You try it." And I just did it. And Brett's like, "Whoa." And so he pulled me over after the lesson. He's like, "Dude, you've got an amazing voice. Like, you have a vocal coach here?" And I'm like, "No, I've been kind of heard about you. I've been wanting to get one." He's like, "Let's do it." So that started our friendship. I started
Mhm.
going to him for my own training. And then eventually I think he saw in me an ability to be a coach and offered to mentor me in his methodology and in his experience. His mentor is a guy named Seth Riggs, who is the biggest vocal coach of all time. He still coaches in LA. He's coached everyone from Michael Jackson to Whitney Houston down the list.
Oof.
Stevie Wonder's coach for like 40 something years. Like, just an amazing coach that really revolutionized commercial pop singing as far as teaching it and coaching it. I was just connected to some really cool people in that realm too. So, when I joined the Tenors, it just made sense that I would have something to do when I wasn't touring. I was like, because I never dreamed of vocal coaching, like to do it myself.
Mhm.
I just thought, you know what? Yeah, maybe I should look into this. And the economy had kind of crashed like a year before. And I was like, oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So Brett mentored me, and that really kind of put me in the coaching realm. So it started to, in my own career, create a fork or a different leveling up of not just singing and being part of this amazing tenor group, but also beginning to pour into other singers from what I know and what I've experienced and been taught, even. And so that really started to become a big part of my overall career and even identity. It was really an amazing time in my life, and a lot of shifting there, from leaving my job to starting my own business per se, to learning to
Mhm.
be a vocal coach and joining this group, the Tenors, and then moving to LA, all within like a 3-year period.
Wow.
That was a lot of juggling going on there, but the Tenore was definitely one of the highlights of my career, to be able to be a part about and just make some of that amazing music, with some of the symphonies we played with and recorded with. It was just really incredible. I
Yeah.
miss that part of it a lot.
What was the catalyst to moving to LA? You were in Nashville.
I'd always wanted to live on the West Coast. Probably the biggest conduit to that was, aside from wanting to, every time I went, I was like, oh, I just feel like I need to be here. I love this place. So many of us have that feeling and thought.
Mhm.
But I had finished my training with Brett. I'd been working there for almost a year, touring with the Tenore, and we were based out of British Columbia. So I just started thinking, wow, British Columbia, California are way closer than Nashville. It's easier to get there. It's one simple flight up. I just knew I didn't always want to be under Brett's umbrella, even
Mhm.
under his wings. At the time, I just didn't want to be under his wings. I'm very like independent minded and have a lot of goals and visions. And so it's like, you know what? He started in LA, moved to Nashville. I'm going to move from Nashville to LA. We don't have a coach out there teaching under his network, so I'm going to do it. So I did. And that's really what, got me out there.
Mhm.
And I stayed part of his organization until about 3 years ago, 2 years ago, sorry, 2 years ago. And that's when we decided it was the proper time to part ways. Still consider him my coach. We're great friends, and definitely my mentor to this day. I look up to him so much, but it was time to kind of begin to do my own thing in the coaching realm.
And so that's how you developed Vocal Lab Collective. I love how you incorporate the mind, body, and soul. What was your reasoning for kind of giving that type of spin on vocal coaching? Whereas I assume you didn't have that type of coaching before.
Yes and no. I mean, Brett is very holistic in his approach. Um,
Mhm.
he was the first person who ever, having studied voice my whole life, he was the first coach that ever really helped me understand that singing is connected to your psyche, your emotion, your physical health, your mental stability, your spirituality, whatever that is for you. It's also connected. Because we are spiritual beings. We are created organisms that come into like
We're a
human
soul
beings.
with the body, what I've heard.
Yes,
The soul
and
with
this
the
is
body,
why
yeah.
singing must have a soul to it. If it doesn't, it's just flat and it tapers off. Brett helped me really see that. And so when I moved to LA, I knew that I wanted to do something different. For most of my life, I've always believed that I'm here to offer myself as a beautiful benefit to the world. I'm not here to take. You're either a taker or a giver on planet Earth. And at times you can be selfish and a little, okay.
Mhm,
But
mhm.
what is your true reason for being here? And I'd always, again, coming from a long line of givers and my dad being in politics, I just knew that I was here to do big things. And so whatever I do, I'm going to do it big and I'm going to put myself out there and I'm going to try to leave a stamp. And so I saw how Seth Riggs had done that. I saw how Brett is doing that in his own way. And I hear him talk about, having a legacy. And I start to think about that as I'm sitting under his wings. So I get to LA, and it's not long that I'm there before I start to think, well, what am I going to do? Brett developed the most popular singing program in history. How am I going to top that? Maybe I could, but I don't have the desire to. Like, that's not
Mhm.
ever been a vision, at least at this point. So I was actually back in Nashville for a trip working, and I went to the dermatologist because I had a relationship there still. And so I walked in, and the dermatologist's office had like doctors. There was like an esthetician. There was like a little skin supplement place, and there was a Botox clinic. And so I was like, oh. At the time in LA, I was into yoga and eating healthy because I hadn't been there long. So that LA, California lifestyle is
Mhm.
really starting to get me, right? And I'm loving it. So it starts to become real clear to me like, okay, Brett's helped me open my mind to how singing is balancing beautifully the body, the person, right? When it gets off balance, um, and I teach this in singing, we try to find balance in the vocal so you can go out there and be crazy with it. Because balance is boring. That's why we all
Mhm.
don't like search it out for the most part, right? But it's where we have to know how to exist and how to come back to it when something gets off base. Because if
Mhm.
not, we can easily become any of us, Amy Winehouse or Michael Jackson, or, we have a list of people who have tragically left us too soon that were brilliant, brilliant, brilliant minds and artists and creatives. But it was off balance. And so I really thought, you know what? I get this and I really subscribe to this and I'm trying to do it in my own life. I want to be able to help others find it too. And so being at that dermatologist office, I was like, oh, the vocal lab, that's it. I'm going to have a quote unquote laboratory for the singer where they can come in and get mind, body, soul replenished. That is a still developing and unwrapping process that soon, with near the end of the year, you're going to hear some really cool stuff happening with me in the vocal lab and a partner in that. With this, I'm going to tease you right now. There will be no other space like it on planet Earth for the voice, and it's just going to be a revolutionary place for the singer or the artist of any sort. Any sort can come to just rejuvenate, revive, restore, grow, build, learn, rehabilitate, all those words, just to take care of the art. Because Brett always told me this, and he still says it: if you ain't healthy, you can't sing. And that goes for anything. If we're not healthy mentally, emotionally, physically, again, spiritually, again, whatever that source is for you, your art's going to suffer. It doesn't mean it can't find its way. It doesn't mean you can't be successful, but there's going to be friction. There's going to be challenges that shouldn't be there. And there's going to be frustration for you and your soul. And any artist out there right now listening, if you are frustrated with your art and your soul, figure it out, because you're wasting the beauty of what you get to do. It's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be freeing. It's supposed to be life-giving and energizing and inspiring. And if you're sitting at home and you're just like wanting to end it all, figure it out. Something's there. Something's off base and you can find it. In the roundabout way to answer your question, that's where the vocal lab really came from. My desire is to help people sing better and be great at it, to master their craft. But there's a lot that goes into that. And so having a facility or facilities that can help foster that, we can really start to make some cool stuff happen.
Oh, I love that. To that person that you were just talking to, what's something that you would tell them to do to help them find their way? Is there something that you do or that you've done to help find your way?
I think it starts always with hope and belief that it can, faith that there's something bigger to help you do it, and friends who will walk you through it. I sound like I'm preaching, but I believe that, those are concepts that come from a faith background of like faith, hope, and love, hope in the future, faith that it can happen, and love of people around you. Even when you don't, there have been days, Shay, I don't want to get out of bed. I've been so depressed at times, not knowing if I was going to ever be able to sing a note for anyone again. There are often times I think about giving up, but I have those people I call or text that shake me and get me back to reality. I do understand sometimes life hits really hard. Sometimes there are some mental instabilities that can affect this, traumas from the past. I mean, I get all this. There's one reason I want to have a music therapist on staff at the vocal lab eventually, where you can come as a singer and talk with someone. A lot of my voice lessons turn into some quote unquote therapy sessions. I'm not a therapist, but you get it. We talk because you just need that person to help you keep your center. So when you're centered, you have a clearer focus, and that's what we're all trying to gravitate towards or find. And if we're clouded by something, we got to try to remove that, and that's just my personal subscription, that being one of the healthiest ways I think to do it, because obviously culture, success, all that stuff's going to throw stuff at you. Buying more cars is never going to fix that. I really, really want singers to be healthy, because when they're healthy, they can really change the world. We can change it no matter what, obviously, but when you're healthy and clear of vision, look out, crazy big stuff can happen. And again, that's the cool thing about leveling up. You got to be ready to level up if you're going to do it.
Yeah.
And being ready is attached to being prepared. And being prepared does require you to have those people, that team in place that can help you not only prepare to be there, but again, help you keep your clarity of vision and focus when you get tossed and tousled around.
Church and Christianity and all that. I believe in a universe and a spirit. And so I think at one point it was kind of hard for me to connect to faith, hope, love, that type of thing, because it came from that Bible thing where I was not welcome in that space.
I think it's really important to say too, real quick there, Shay, that
Yeah.
wherever you are, so this is really important for people out there listening, wherever you are in your journey, it's okay. Because today you are winning just by breathing.
Mm-hmm.
You are making life happen by opening your eyes and engaging it. So if you're down in the dumps or your career feels like it's over or you're still like trying to figure it all out, whatever, it's okay. Just take a deep breath and go through the process, you know. I think sometimes it's really easy for a mentor or a motivational speaker or a coach or whatever to really speak from a positive, encouraging place, because that's what we're supposed to do. That's what a coach does. Coach encourages and inspires. So it wouldn't be in my nature to sit here and just talk about doom and gloom and bad. But sometimes in that process, it can, I think, come across that we don't always think or feel those things, or sometimes we don't understand when you're not in that same place. And that is not true. Where each of us is today is okay. It really is.
Yeah. What can you do to level up in your life specifically?
You know, I've actually been in this process for, I think we can probably say the past 3 years since I left the group Tenore. That first year was really hard. I needed a break. I've been touring strong for about 10 years. And I really needed that time to just step back and have a weekend in California and multiple weekends and go to the beach and the mountains, all that stuff. It was amazing. Not long after that, though, I realized, wow, part of me is missing. I missed the stage. I missed that. You know, I was still coaching. So I had that like expression of music still going on, but um, I was really missing the performance aspect. And so I saw during that time that I was just maintaining. I was not leveling up. And everything's was frustrating and been frustrating for a couple years on and off of, you know, at times like financial frustrations or career goal frustrations or all kinds of things starting to really cloud my mind. Depression was really trying to knock that down. And so I really decided to face it head on. Again, I had people around me, my team. I'm a part owner in a small record label in Norway. And so I do a lot of work there. And my business partners there really started to punch me in ways and encourage me. Man, you are talented. You are connected. You are creative. You are experienced. They started speaking all these words into me. And I was like, yeah. And I realized that you actually said it in the question, but to level up, it takes me being willing to get up. And I cannot expect it to just come to me. I cannot expect. Now, that's a funny thing for me to say because I've told you at least 4 stories tonight where things just came to me. But I was prepared and in the moment, and I was seeking. I wasn't just sitting there. I was active. So maybe that's the first thing. And in leveling up, you got to be active. You got to be in the process of stepping in that direction. But I was sulking, I was sitting, I was waiting, I was all that stuff. And so I literally had to just be like, okay, we got to do this, Jason. You got to get out there. You got to go for it. It's going to be hard. It's going to suck. It's going to hurt. It's going to be, I don't know. That big question mark's going to pop up again and again. So I did. I started putting myself out there more. I started to dream again in new ways. I really, really, really started to dive into artist development more than just vocal coaching. I really started to put motion into these dreams to the vocal lab. And I really started to step into my first love and purpose of singing again, and starting to dream of what that next record's going to be. Because, you leave a group or something really successful like that, and of course, you just think, was that it? And a lot
Mhm.
of people just stop there. And sometimes that's what people are supposed to do, but I never felt that was me. So that process of leveling up right now in my life literally looks like getting up every morning, facing the task before me, continuing to dream and create, and the big word that you mentioned early on, connect. Connect, connect, connect. Not only the dots of what I'm trying to do, but with the people around me that can help me make it happen. That's it. Then
Woo. Yeah.
things come your way. Things come your way.
Yeah, you have to put in time. You are the creator. And
Yes.
and everything is helping you create what you have in your mind and what you dream of. So you just have to
Totally.
go and do it.
Totally. I really believe the universe is for us.
Yeah.
Like, it's not against us. Things happen that make it appear that way, but those are circumstances of life. And
Mhm.
again, what's my perspective on that circumstance? Even in this COVID culture right now, all of us, I remember the day initially I thought, Shay, like when it all started to lock down and I knew it and I saw it happening, I was like, oh man, it's over. I'm a creative. I'm not going to be able to
Mhm.
make a penny. And after about 2 or 3 days of that, I got up and I was like, no, Jason, you're going to walk through this. You're going to come out stronger. You're going to come out bigger and better, and you're going to face it. This is not against you. Everything right now is for you, and everything, again, is okay. Everything is okay. It's not fun. It is not fun.
Yeah.
And thankfully, I've not been directly impacted by the virus. My health, you could even say that, like, leveling up is a daily practice.
Oh yeah.
It is easy to sit here and be like, okay, today I'm here, next year I want to be there, so in 2 years I can have that Grammy award. Well, if I keep that perspective and don't put the daily levels up into it, I'm never going to get that Grammy award, or I'm just never going to get even a record. It's daily leveling up and facing it with, just with a healthy dose of perspective and reality, but also confidence that I can make some cool stuff happen.
What's some advice that you could give someone, who wants to level up? And just like you said, in their daily life. So some type of practice or some type of maybe reminder that they can use to move forward.
I think, again, I would probably say two things. Make something practical and tangible in your practice. Again, this is going to be specific to what you do. So I'm a creative. So I would maybe do something that stretches my creativity, like work on journaling or songwriting or practice my voice or, um, work on my social media, whatever. Some active practice every day for even 10, 15 minutes. Before you know it, those things become habits. And once it's a habit, things just kind of take off. And so it's like learning to walk for the first time. You got those baby steps at first, and before you know it, you don't even think about it anymore. And you're walking everywhere. You're going to now you're in Asia. How'd I get here? Well, I learned to walk when I was a baby.
Mhm.
So those small, simple steps that are practical, that's really important when you are in the creative realm, because a lot of times creative stuff isn't tangible. Or even in the business realm, you dream of this company. It may not seem so tangible right now. So what do? You know, Study some of the greats for 10 minutes. Listen to a TED talk or a podcast like this, even if it's just got 10 minutes, something, right? Exercise that mind and stretch that productivity. And then secondly, I would say set aside some time to practice your belief in yourself and faith that it can happen. Um, I do think it is one of the greatest recipes for success that we don't always talk about. And you can really get into a personal conversation like this. Almost everyone you talk to that's been successful will say, I just had faith that it could happen. A lot of them will say,
Mhm.
I had faith in this or that. I had faith in my family, or I had faith in God, or whatever. faith is always a component because we are fragile, we are broken, and we are very prone to just give up, you know? So that faith component is that intangible thing that can become very tangible in your ability to go for what you're really trying to make happen and really level up. Again, I'm always aware that not everyone's trying to, win awards or be on TV or whatever else or have a Fortune 500 company. A lot of people listening to programs like this will, but there's a lot of people out there that are they're doing a daily job that they love. I mean, think of our teachers. They're heroes. They may not be sitting there thinking like, I think jobs like that sometimes it's easy to get in just like autopilot. But I want those people too to be leveling up every day. How can I be that better teacher? How can I be a
Yep.
better paramedic? How can I be a better mail person? How can I be better like stock person at Walmart? Like almost every stock person, almost every CEO of every company, again, if we want to go that direction, started in a mailroom or a stock room,
Yeah.
you know? So if you keep leveling up, your life becomes an adventure. And that to me is what life is all about. Where it takes you, how big or small that is so individual and it's all beautiful. As long as it's an adventure that you love and you love other people doing it, oh, that's good. I want that kind of life. I want that kind of life.
For sure.